Hello again, welcome back. Episode 4 of our Pistol Show. Voting has finished. We do have a name. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. We're going to reveal that in the coming weeks. But we're here at the WSPS World Championships in Sydney at the Sydney International Shooting Centre. And of course, it's President's Day, and we're going to start firstly with the President of Shooting Australia, Kath Fattel. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
It's been a great event. We're midway through here of the WSPS World Championship. Huge honour for Shooting Australia to obviously host this event, and very important, it's quota spots for Tokyo 2020.
It certainly is a really important event on the para calendar. As you said, it's the World Championships for 2019. For our para shooting, the event is under the auspices of the WSPS, as you mentioned. It's a great honour for Shooting Australia to be able to host this event. A large event. We've got almost 300 competitors. We've got something like 500 in total competitors, coaches, loaders, etc. It's a big event. It's a big event in the sense of the participants, but it's also a big event in the sense of the importance leading into Tokyo Paralympics. A significant number of quota places at this event for athletes to in fact win a spot in the Paralympics in Tokyo for their country. It's a really, really important event, and that is obvious by the number of countries that have come and the number of athletes that are here.
It's quite possibly the most important World Championship in the 12 months before an Olympic Games. As you said, there's 53 quota spots across the disciplines here. We've got pistol, rifle and shotgun in for the first time.
Yes, that's right. We in Australia haven't had shotgun in an international para competition before, so it's been marvellous to have them included this time. The quota places are for pistol and rifle, and the competition is intense in that respect. It's a large competition as far as Australia is concerned, but also as far as WSPS is concerned, leading into the Paralympics. It's an opportunity for athletes to not only win quota places, but to show their wares, get a sense of the competition that they'll be up against next year. So yes, we shouldn't underestimate the importance of it.
Very important. So pistol, rifle, quota spots, shotgun not shot in the Olympic program.
At the moment, yes.
But obviously in multidiscipline sports, they shoot or compete in certain events at a World Championship, but might not necessarily be on the Olympic calendar.
That's correct,
So,
yes.
so 292 competitors, 41 events, and a huge increase in females, 78 females
Which
here
is
competing.
marvellous, yes. It's such a great sport. Parachuting is a sport that any age, any ability can get involved in. It provides opportunities for men and women, and you're right, the increase in the female participation is marvellous.
It's good, and we hope that grows over the years. I mean,
I'm sure
if you look back to the number of female competitors back in Sydney and the number of events, it has grown exponentially. Obviously, this venue was the host of the Sydney 2000 Olympic Games. A lot of good memories for everyone back that far, 19 years ago. The staff and the training and the intellectual property that you garner out of hosting these events, your staff have worked really, really hard to put this on?
They have. It's a huge event. It takes a long time to prepare for. There's so much to do. We have marvellous staff that, as you say, have held large events before and so have that expertise, but we have the most wonderful group of volunteers that are such an important part to any event. But we have volunteers here from all over Australia doing their jobs, which is making the whole competition run very smoothly. It wouldn't be a competition without our volunteers and our staff.
No, the volunteers, as you go around Australia at different shooting competitions, you see the same faces, people turning up and helping out, and they love it. And you love having them because, I mean, they've got great skills, they know the sport, they know what they need to do, and they do a great job.
And they are a really important part of it all. And it's good to see the athletes and the officials mixing, volunteers part of all that. It's really a great environment to be in.
It's that great community and the great friendships that you build up over many, many years. I mean, you were a top-line competitor back in the day, but now you wear a number of different hats. Obviously, President of Shooting Australia, former President of Pistol Australia, on the executive board of the AOC, so and ISSF representation as well. Yeah. So you get across a lot of areas, especially on the AOC and those government bodies, to push the barrow forward for shooting sports.
For shooting, that's right.
Yeah.
It's so important that we maintain our profile. We are a popular sport. We are a multi-medal sport at those events, Olympics, Paralympics, and so it's really important for us that we have that profile, that we have the public, the people that follow sport, not necessarily just shooting, but the people that follow sport have an understanding of what our sport is and its place in the whole world of sport.
Yeah, and you're doing a great job, obviously, for your staff too, coming up, doing a great event here at the WSPS World Championship, but you've got the Oceania Championships coming up in early November, 1st to 9th of November. So big workload here, and then they're going to back right up and go again in November.
That's exactly right. We have the Para World Championships here now. We have the Oceania Federation Championships in early November for our able-bodied shooters. And then going into the early part of 2019, we will have our selection period for both the Olympics and Paralympics.
The quota system, you get a quota for a nation, but then the nation gets to decide which athlete takes that quota. Right. Is it often that an athlete that's gained that quota spot doesn't get selected? I mean, maybe something happens, they might get injured or out of form.
It does happen.
Yeah.
As you say, a quota position is won by a nation, and there's a limit. Once an individual has won a quota place, they cannot win another one for their nation. Someone else from the nation.
Someone else has got to come and get it. Yeah.
And there's a maximum of how many quotas you can acquire in an event, and then of course it's up to the nation itself to select the actual athlete that will take that quota place to the Olympics and Paralympics. There's also what is called a minimum qualifying score, MQS, which anyone that is competing for selection and ultimately selected to compete must have achieved that MQS in an international event in the time frame permitted.
I guess that makes selection a little bit easier because you've got to get a qualifying score. It's not a subjective thing. You must be at a certain level and then you're in contention.
That's exactly right. The pool from which you're selecting are all at that level, as you say, yes.
Yeah. Well, Kath Fattel, been a big week for you, and it's going to continue through till Friday for the end of the WSPS, and thanks for joining us here on the show.
Thank you very much, and I just want to thank you and your crew, Pistol Australia, for what you're doing here with promoting the sport. It's really important for Shooting Australia to have as many people involved and knowing about our sport, and particularly this marvellous para sport that we have.
Oh yeah, the para sport's brilliant. We want to educate and entertain people, but we also want to grow the audience. We want to invite people from outside the pistol community and the shooting community. Come and join us. Come and see what a fantastic sport this is.
Absolutely, it's opening doors for people. It's opportunities that a lot of people don't even know exist. So the more that we can get that message out, the more people are going to get involved and love it the way we do.
It's fantastic. Thank you, Kath Fattel, President of Shooting Australia.
Thank you.
Well, welcome now to the show, the President of Pistol Australia, Ray Andrews. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mike. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Midway through the WSPS World Championships here and in Sydney, and our Aussie guys, they competed on day one in the 25-metre pistol.
Correct.
They didn't go too badly.
Well, there was sort of a bit of a mixed bag for them. I'm sure they're both bitterly disappointed in the end result, but that happens, you have your good days, you have your bad days, and Chris didn't come up to his normal standard, most probably mainly in the rapid fire stage.
He put some 90, 89 in the first two rounds of the rapid fire, and he finished off with a 97, which he said is where he normally would be.
That's correct, yeah. If you follow his scores over the last couple of years, that's pretty close to where he'd be, around the 96, 97.
Yeah, so he missed the 8 points out of the final, and he probably left 15 on the range there by that rapid fire range.
Well, that'd be
Yeah.
correct, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the first relay, he was running 8th into the top 8, but then, of course, that fell away in the second half of the second relay when he dropped back down to 16th place.
Yeah, he got overtaken by some of the shooters coming through in that second relay who shot quite well.
That's right.
What about your tip? You
What about
told
my
me
tip?
we're walking down towards the final, and you said keep an eye on this guy from Ukraine,
Yes.
Densiuk. He said,
Yeah.
you said to me, I've watched him in training. He has been sensational. If he puts that together, he'll win the final. What happened?
Well, that's exactly what he did. I saw him in the PET training the day before. I happened to, because he was shooting alongside Rowan Dorr, and I was watching his precision, and he actually only fired 20 shots and then stopped, which is understandable because his first series he dropped 3 points and then he shot a 50-50-50. So I thought, this guy's worth watching.
Yeah,
And
yeah, definitely.
As it
definitely.
turned out, he turned around and won the gold medal. So.
He did. He 27 hits in the final.
Yes.
He didn't lead from the beginning. It was the Polish guy, Serbian guy, Papaz.
Yeah.
Serbian Papaz was leading for a while, and then Densiuk got him in the last couple of rounds.
That's correct. I mean, overall, it was an excellent final. I mean, to have the shoot-offs as you went through for the dropping off in the other places and what have you, and that's what making a final so exciting, particularly when you get shoot-offs.
And it is such a great facility here at CISC. You've got the finals hall, you've got grandstand seating. Well, we're shooting our show from here today, so it is just a fabulous facility.
It is an excellent facility, and it's a tribute to the New South Wales government for keeping the facility running after the 2000 Olympics.
Yeah, it's always great to have a legacy out of an Olympic Games. You've got some great facilities, and this is probably one of the best in the country.
Yeah, but I mean, this has happened over the years with Olympic venues, particularly with shooting venues, that after the Games, the venues disappear. I mean, Atlanta, where they had the venue at Wolf Creek in '96, that's gone. Athens in 2004.
It's a terrible shame, isn't it, really?
is, yeah.
I mean, because a lot of money goes into building something like this, and this venue here just had a multi-million-dollar upgrade of electronic targets, so it is state-of-the-art, and
is.
I'm told that these targets are testing here at the World Championship, and they're standing up to what's needed, and they'll probably be used in Tokyo at the Olympics, the same target, same version.
This type of targetry, and the upgrades that they've given it since they installed it, they've put in more upgrades on it, and the chances are it will be used in Tokyo for the Olympics next year.
So WSPS World Championships this week, Oceania coming up very shortly, but of course, bang in the middle of that, 2019 Action Pistol Nationals coming up at Toowoomba. That's the next big one on the horizon for Pistol Australia.
That's right. We've had a very busy last couple of months, particularly with hosting only a few weeks back the WA 1500 World Championship at Hilltop.
That was a great event.
That's right. It was a great event, well attended, well run, and some great results for Australia. And that was followed up a few days later by the Big Bore Metallic Silhouette at Narrabri.
Yeah, another great event.
Another great event, particularly for yourself, to see what happens on other events.
Yeah, it was a great learning curve for me. I really enjoyed it. It should be an exciting competition up there at Toowoomba. As you said, 64 competitors, so it's going to be pretty fierce competition.
It's going to be pretty fierce competition, and if you're looking for possible outcomes of who's likely to be a winner, the first one you'd mostly have to look at would be Nigel Gordon from Queensland, because Nigel Gordon took out both the metallic site and the open event last year at Yarra at the Nationals there. Then you got Mark Blake from Victoria, who's also one of our top shooters. And if you want to start looking at the women's side of things, Mark Blake's wife Sherry, she's a top shooter too, and she performed very well in Bianchi this year. Actually, I think she beat her husband. So.
That's always not a bad thing, is it?
Well, it's not a bad thing. No, it creates a bit of competition, doesn't it? But
Yeah, well, we see lots of couples competing together. Silhouette's a classic example.
Oh, Silhouette, yes, that's right. Yeah. Like Judy and John Harding.
Yeah.
Side by side, they scope for each other and.
Yeah, Kirsten and Drew.
Yeah.
We had an interview with them.
Goes on.
Yeah. And talking of couples and metallic silhouette, of course, our team, they're in New Zealand this week competing in their Oceania Championship.
That's correct. They're over in New Zealand, so there's going to be 3 in the competition as far as we know, because New Caledonia is also going to have a team there. So it should be a good competition, and Oceania's been running for a number of years now, and it's a good event for our Australian team members to go there. And from my point of view as president, I wish them all the best and a successful trip. But I mean, the other big thing, of course, we've got coming up in Action Pistol is for next year, 2020. Pistol Australia's been given the right to host the World Championships in Action Pistol here in Australia, and that is also going to be at the Toowoomba Range in Queensland in mid-October. So
Yeah, we're about 12 months away from that.
12 months away from it.
Yep.
So this Nationals here is a good run, as you said earlier, to get ready to how we're going to host the World Championships. What numbers we get from overseas is very hard to indicate. Sometimes we get a good following. I mean, we haven't had it in Australia. The last time we held a World Championship here was back in 2006 out at the Blacktown Pistol Club. So it's a long time in between drinks, so to speak.
Yeah.
The last one outside of America was New Zealand, I think, in 2016. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's important too to develop that intellectual property amongst the pistol community here in Australia to be able to host these big events, because you want to bid for them. It's great to get the international competitors out to Australia. It's great for our people to shoot against those people on home soil, and it's great tourism dollars as well for the country.
Oh, that's right. It goes
the local economy.
It goes in every direction.
Thanks, Ray Andrews.
Okay, thanks very much, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, it's time again now for Coach's Corner, and welcome back, Joe Kapitanov.
Thanks, Mike. It's good to be back on episode number 4. We're going to cover a different topic today, and then in future episodes we're going to elaborate into these topics.
We just want to remind everyone though, pistol at pistol.org.au, use the title Ask the Coach on your header of your email and slip some questions to Joe.
Definitely, Mike. We want to make sure that we answer questions that people, Pistol Australia community have out there for us, so we can help them improve their shooting.
So what's your topic today?
Today we're going to talk about mainly to do with preparation to begin a shot and preparation to begin a match. So let's get right into it.
Right into it.
What we're going to talk about is, I see this a lot on the actual range. And what happens is, say for the precision event, 25 metre events, or even the longer distance events, they're basically doing all this work, lining themselves up to the target. They're basically preparing their bodies and their arm and their sights to the target.
So they're doing this sort of thing?
Absolutely.
Aligning their body?
They're lining themselves up with their pistols in hand, and what we see is that process breaks down before the start of the actual shot, and I'll elaborate what that actually means.
What do they do after this? They've lined themselves up. What do they do?
Well, basically what's happening is they start off with preparation of the whole body as one unit, facing the target. You've got to be central to the target to begin with. There's no point facing away from the target or slightly off from the target. You're not going to hit the center, basically. So once they've lined themselves up, we find that we're getting, the gun is in hand, and basically they're ready to begin their routine or start of their process. So let's talk about precision in particular.
Precision, yep.
Okay, so we're talking about 25 metre precision in particular, or even 10 metre air. So what's happening is that in all their preparation, once they've aligned themselves up to the target, when they're resting their pistol on the bench, before they initiate the lift, people usually prepare both body and arm with controlled tensions to make sure that they are following a particular path within their routine. Wherever they stop, above the target, middle of the target, it doesn't matter. Wherever they track in a straight line. But these are all done through controlling their tensions. What we find is when we transfer that over into dynamic shooting, i.e. the rapid fire stage in sports pistol, they do all this work. They line themselves up. They align themselves to the middle of the target. They produce all the correct tensions going from the center of the target, which is going to be the starting point and the finishing point at once, because we've got 3-second exposure to the target to actually fire the shot. So they've set all this up, they've done all this work, and what we find is once they've set themselves up, they lower their arm to their 45 like they're supposed to, and now there's a bit of a delay. So during this delay, they all of a sudden undo everything by resting their pistol.
So they come from this ready position.
Yep.
And they go to a resting position.
They go to a resting position on the bench. Now, this usually happens to people who might not be physically conditioned because they say, well, I can't hold my arm there for too long because it gets tired. Well, guys, I hate to break the news to you, start training and be able to do that. There's no point spending all this time getting ready and
to break
then-
it down.
To break it down, okay? So what we find is the correct procedure would be that you've got 1 minute basically to load and prepare yourself before attention is called, which is the beginning of the 7 seconds of away time of the target not facing you. So time your preparation, guys, so that when you line yourself up, this is for dynamic rapid fire stage shooting, dynamic shooting, when you come from the middle, time yourselves in terms of you have 1 minute, utilize it so that you're only waiting for a very short period of time. Does that make sense?
No, it makes 100%.
Okay, so what we want is time it so that you're at the final stages of that 1 minute to find the center, come straight down, back to the center to test it out, come straight down, and by that time attention will be called and you're ready to go. 7 seconds later, the target, the green light will go on, or the target will turn, and you're in process, rather than actually breaking the process.
Is this something you can practice during dry fire? So you're doing your dry firing at home, so you're getting yourself in position and maybe just holding for a while.
That's right. Conditioning yourself, there's a number of ways of doing it. There's two forms of conditioning. Conditioning using the equipment, which is your pistol at hand. So you're using the weight of the pistol to strengthen the arm and be able to control the tensions that you would like. Because don't forget, we have to recreate, especially in the rapid fire stage, we have to recreate 5 shots, identical.
Yes,
So-
exactly. So you've got down,
Yep.
red light, green light, 3 seconds.
Yep, fire the shot.
Fire the shot, come
7
down.
seconds wait before the next cycle goes through. So if you actually look at the time that you have to use, it's not really that long. Now, if you can't hold the pistol or the tensions,
Get used to it.
Get used to
Get
it.
used to it, exactly,
You know?
get used
And
to it.
you'll find that your shooting and your consistency in shooting and your actions will be rehearsed correctly. Train the body to do the same thing over and over again. Create the muscle memory, create the strength, and it'll become relatively easy to do. But again, the magic word is you have to train.
Well, fantastic, Joe. Another really, really good Coaches segment, Coaches Corner. Remember, get your questions in, pistol@pistol.org.au, and use the heading Ask the Coach.
And as I always say, train well to shoot well.
Well, we've got a very, very special guest on the show now. It is the preeminent voice of world shooting. Please welcome Shaq Sear.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, well, Shaq and I met up in the Pan American Games.
Literally, we met up on the other side of the world, and it was a nice kind of coincidence, that conversation we had, that we found out you were involved in shooting as well.
Yeah, it was. It's a small community. Obviously, you travel around. You do WSPS. You do other ISSF events. You were here for Commonwealth Games. Probably your most recent trip to Australia before now.
Yeah, so that was the first time I went to Australia in April 2018 when I did the Commonwealth Games. It was an amazing event, I have to say. It was. I would say it's up there with the best events I've done for shooting. I loved my time here. It was genuinely a really beautifully well organised event, but the crowds as well. You know, the crowds were energetic and they were into it, and yeah, we had some really good competitions.
Well, the venue, we're sitting here in the finals hall at the Sydney International Shooting Centre. Really nice venue, home of the Sydney 2000 Olympic Games, but purpose built to get a crowd and get an atmosphere for the competitors and for yourself as the announcer and the
Yeah.
commentator on the live stream.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because this is my first time in the Sydney International Shooting Range, and when I was in Rio for the Olympics, I had heard that they had modelled that range on the Sydney range, and I
Right.
hadn't seen it at that time. But coming here now for the first time, it completely makes sense because they're pretty identical, I have to say.
So your role here, announcing, and also your very good friend Jamie's out from the UK as well. It's a joint role. One of you is doing the announcing here for the finals in the finals hall, and the other one's doing the live stream commentary.
Yeah, so both of us have had a few years' experience in shooting now, in all disciplines, rifle, pistol and shotgun. And we've also had the experience in mixing up our roles as the announcer for the spectators who are in the arena, but also doing the live stream commentary as well. So for the first 2 days, Jamie has been doing the commentary. I've been doing the announcing. Today we're actually going to swap round. So yeah, mix it up a little bit and keep us on our toes.
It's been some great competition. You've had some good finals so far in the tournament.
Yeah, well, a lot of the faces are familiar to me because I've had a bit of Paralympic experience in the past. So going back about 3.5 years, January 2016 was the first time I did my first Paralympic competition, and then that year, of course, I did the Paralympics in Rio. So I got to know the athletes at that time, and I did a few interviews with them as well. Got to know, you know, the really skilled athletes who were getting into the finals. So yeah, a lot of the same athletes are still around. But having said that, it's really good to see such high participation, because I think this is the event with the most number of participants in a Paralympic shooting event that I've been part of anyway.
Yeah, it's a lot of people here, a lot of competitors.
It's nearly 300, and that's just the athletes themselves. So it's really good to see a good attendance.
Yeah. Targeting pistol specifically, the 25-metre final the other day was a really nice competition. You had the reigning Olympic champion Wang Jing from China. He was the defending world champion. He's got the world record of 36 hits in a final.
Yeah.
He got the bronze, and it was a great finish by the Ukrainian Densyuk.
Yeah, so a little surprise maybe, because he literally had everything coming into that final, the Chinese shooter. But yeah, that, you know, when sport and shooting throws up some surprises, it's good to commentate on. So and I know Densyuk from a couple of years ago. He's got a really good CV as well. I'm not surprised that he won. But yeah, good for him to become the world champion.
Well, thanks, Shaq. You guys are doing a sensational job here. The live stream, of course, they can catch that on the Shooting Australia Facebook page, also on the Paralympic.org website. You can watch the live stream, watch all the finals here from the WSPS World Championships. Thanks, Shaq, sir.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Pleasure to be with you.
We're on the 50-metre range here at CISC. The P4 50-metre event has just wound up. The highest qualifier, Zhang Jiao from China, 5:52, 2 off the world record qualifying score. Australia's Rowan Dorr has failed to make the final, but performed credibly in his first World Championship. So the action continues here on Friday with the 10-metre air pistol for both Chris Pitt and Rowan Dorr. We wish them the best of luck, but we'll see you next week at our next show up in Toowoomba, the 2019 Action Pistol Nationals.